Imagine a weapon that doesn't require a soldier to pull a trigger, doesn't make a sound, and is completely invisible to every advanced radar system on the planet. A weapon so precise that it can travel through a crowded city and only target individuals with a specific eye color, a certain skin tone, or a very particular ethnic genetic marker. This is not a nightmare pulled from a sci-fi movie. This is the cold reality of genetic warfare, and according to leaked files, the race for this technology has reached its peak in 2026. For over a decade, military intelligence agencies across the globe have been running a massive, classified mission to collect the biological blueprints of millions of unsuspecting people. Welcome to the most guarded chapter of modern the international race for the universal biokey, where your blood is the ultimate prize. Most of us believe our DNA is safe within the walls of a hospital or a medical lab, but whistleblowers have revealed a darker truth. This data is being siphoned into black budget military projects. You might ask, why would a military intelligence agency want the DNA of an ordinary citizen? The answer is as strategic as it is terrifying. Targeted bioagents, traditional biological weapons of the past, like anthrax or the plague, were messy because they killed everyone in their path, friend and foe alike. But modern military intelligence wanted a clean weapon, a virus or pathogen that could be released in a region and only kill enemy combatants while leaving the rest of the population completely untouched. To build such a weapon, scientists first needed a comprehensive genetic map of the entire human race, broken down by region, race, and even family lineage. In the early 2020s, one of the greatest intelligence traps in history was set through popular DNA, ancestry, and genealogy websites that promised to find your long-lost relatives. Millions of people, out of simple curiosity, sent their saliva samples to private companies, unknowingly handing over the most private data they possessed to organizations with deep ties to the state. Beyond the legal fine print, intelligence agencies were harvesting this genetic data to identify specific biological vulnerabilities that are unique to certain populations. Tease is the ultimate war mistake, transforming the very chemical blueprint of human life into a digital battlefield where every cell is a potential target. As we stand in 2026, we are witnessing the formal rise of a new intelligence discipline, genomic intelligence, or GENINT. Specialized elite spy units are no longer just stealing computer codes or nuclear plans. They are tasked with stealing the medical records and blood samples of world leaders. The logic is simple. If you possess a leader's DNA, you can predict their future health risks, their mental weaknesses, and even design a poison that only reacts to their unique biology. This has paved the way for the perfect assassination, a death that looks like a natural heart attack or a sudden stroke, leaving absolutely no trace of a chemical or a crime. Intelligence files suggest that advanced biodrones, some the size of a common housefly, are being tested to collect DNA samples from the sweat or hair of people in large public gatherings. Every time you leave a fingerprint on a glass or a hair strand on a pillow in a hotel, you are leaving behind a military asset that can be indexed in a global database. The Pentagon's research arm, DARPA, is reportedly investing billions into genetic hardening, a project aimed at making their own soldiers immune to these They are exploring ways to create super soldiers whose DNA is modified to resist toxins, recover from trauma at lightning speed, and survive in environments that would kill a normal human. But this genetic arms race has already seen its first catastrophic failure in a secret laboratory located in a remote, mountainous region. A synthetic pathogen, originally designed to target only specific agricultural pests, mutated unexpectedly and began identifying human DNA sequences as its target. This secret bioleak is the very catastrophe that intelligence agencies have spent billions of dollars and used every propaganda tool to cover up. We have reached a point where genetic privacy is becoming far more critical than internet privacy. Yet most of the world remains blissfully unaware. Say an intelligence agency has a digital copy of your DNA. They effectively own the source code to your life, your health, and your future. Intelligence analysts warn that biohacking, the act of remotely altering a person's health through biological triggers, will be the primary weapon of this decade. Rebel nations like China and Russia are now reportedly building genetic firewalls, strictly forbidding their citizens from sending biological samples to foreign companies. Yet the theft continues through everyday technology. Smartwatch, that tracks your heart rate and sleep patterns is constantly contributing to your bioprofile. Day 2026. DNA war is a silent, invisible conflict, but its outcome will determine which ethnic groups survive the next century and which do not. Today is evidence of designer viruses being developed that can stay dormant in a human body for years, only to be activated by a specific environmental or radio signal. This is the ultimate sleeper cell, not a human agent waiting for a call, but a biological code waiting for a trigger inside your very own cells. Military intelligence is also pushing into epigenetic warfare, which involves using chemicals or frequencies to turn certain genes on or off without changing the DNA sequence. Imagine an entire enemy army suddenly becoming lethargic, depressed, or unable to focus, all because their gene expression was altered by an invisible mist. The ethical boundaries that once governed human conflict have been erased in the pursuit of what generals call the biological high ground. Whistleblowers have made shocking claims that some international vaccine campaigns in war zones were secretly used as a front for mass DNA collection missions. This has caused a massive collapse in global trust, a war mistake that might lead to the return of ancient diseases as people refuse to participate in any health programs. In 2026, biosecurity has moved from the laboratory to the front lines of national defense, with every country building its own genetic shield. Deep underground, governments are constructing genetic vaults to store the DNA of their elite citizens and leaders, ensuring their biological line survives a global reset. But for the rest of the world, we have unknowingly become the testing ground for these new, experimental genomic weapons. Surveillance is now so advanced that intelligence agencies can perform kinship tracking, finding you anywhere in the world just by having a sample from a distant cousin. True anonymity has vanished. You can change your name, your face, and your location, but you can never change the sequence of your DNA. The files regarding Project Gene Shield remain some of the most highly classified documents in the history of the United States and its allies. These documents describe a world where humans are no longer viewed as individuals with rights, but as biological datasets to be either optimized or deleted. The pure arrogance of believing that we can master the code of life for the purpose of destruction is perhaps the ultimate human folly. While every major war in history was fought over land, gold, or oil, the wars of the future will be fought over human identity and biological survival. Intelligence agencies have shifted their recruitment, now hiring more molecular biologists and geneticists than traditional codebreakers or field agents. The lab-grown soldier, optimized for obedience and physical power, is no longer a myth, but a prototype in a dark-budget facility. This marks a terrifying transition from natural evolution to military evolution, where the state decides the traits of the next generation. The 2026 War is a wake-up call that the most dangerous weapon on the planet isn't a nuclear bomb, it's the sequence of chemicals inside of you. If we do not act to protect our genetic data now, we risk losing our freedom at the most fundamental, molecular level possible. The mistake of the 20th century was building bombs. The mistake of the 21st century is rewriting life itself for the purpose of engineered death. Every time you provide a blood sample or take a medical test, you must ask, where is this data going, and who really owns it? The shadow government is quietly assembling a universal library of life, and they didn't wait for your consent to include you in it. Mysterious biocollapses in specific regions are now being secretly linked by analysts to these hidden genetic experiments. We are the first generation of humans to face an enemy that can infiltrate our bodies and attack us from the inside out, using our own biology. The DNA war is the final, most intimate frontier of military intelligence, where the battlefield is the human cell. Stay vigilant, protect your biological identity, and remember, your genetic code is the last thing you truly own. Thank you for joining us in this classified investigation into the DNA war. Subscribe to stay informed on the secrets they are hiding in your very cells.